So, Senator Jim DeMint, our junior senator from the state of South Carolina, has quit, resigned, to move on to be the president of the Heritage Foundation. And now what? Well, according to state law, our governor, Governor Haley, gets to pick who gets to be senator from to, from the 1st of January till the election in November 2014. Now, it will be a special election added to our regular election because we have an election in 2014. But his replacement will be voted on. A new vote will be held for another 2 years, and then another regular election will be held. It's a big mess. But the governor gets to pick who will replace him. Now, there's two schools of thought in this, that the governor should either appoint a placeholder or someone who will basically not seek the actual term of senator in 2014, that will just be there to represent South Carolina. Kind of expected if the governor did do a placeholder, it would be someone with similar philosophical, political values as Senator DeMint, because that's who the people voted for 2 years ago. The other school of thought is that no, she should appoint someone who's going to seek the office in 2014 and go from there. Now, my opinion, the people spoke in 2010. You might not have voted for Senator DeMint, but the people spoke, and that's who they wanted. He's quit. Now, the governor has the responsibility now to pick somebody to cover the base until 2014. In my opinion, it should be a placeholder. It should be somebody who's not seeking that office in the future. But the governor disagrees with that. According to her statement, she thinks that's not fair to the people of South Carolina. They won't be able to judge. She doesn't want to take away their choice in 2014. She doesn't want them to say, hey, well, I want this person. And she doesn't want to limit the individual who takes over the position for Senator DeMint, whom she appoints, limit their possibilities in the future. Now, I have a problem with this because what we have is one person deciding who will be the senator for South Carolina from January 1st, 2013 to the end of 2014. I have a problem with the power to pick who's going to be the senator residing in one person. And we'll get to that later. But in addition to that, if she picks someone who wants to run again, she has just created an incumbent. And we all know that incumbents, no matter how they got there, hold a little bit more power over a challenger. They've got name recognition because they're there. They have money because they're already in office. So in my opinion, it should be placeholder, but she's going to go the other way. And there's names all across the spectrum. But apparently she's narrowed down the list to 5 people. Let me run down that list. Representative Tim Scott in the U.S. Congress right now. He would be the first black senator from the South since Reconstruction, and the only black senator in the Senate right now. Now, that's kind of ironic that that could happen from South Carolina. Representative Trey Gowdy, our representative here in District 4. Catherine Templeton, current director of the Department of Health and Environmental Control, who used to be the director of Labor, License, and Regulation. Former Attorney General Henry McMasters, and this is the 5th one I don't understand. Former Governor Sanford's former wife, Jenny Sanford. Let's just talk about these. Of course, Representative Tim Scott's got a lot of buzz because of the fact it would be historic. He is a conservative Tea Party along the same wavelengths as the governor. Representative Gowdy, again, an elected official multiple times in different levels. Conservative. I don't know how his relationship with Governor Haley is, but he is a strong conservative. The director of DHEC, Catherine Templeton, she's never held an elected office before. She has experience in state government. How that would translate into national government, I don't know. Attorney General McMasters, who's held a number of offices, who lost to Governor Haley in the primary for governor, but has remained close to her and has been a close ally of hers. And then Jenny Sanford. Wonderful woman, apparently. She did help, or she did manage her former husband's representative campaign and gubernatorial campaign, and she was a daily advisor, at least in Governor Sanford's first term. Now, if we're rejecting placeholders, are we assuming that Jenny Sanford is going to run successfully for the Senate seat in 2014? She'll have a leg up being in there for 2 years. But is she senator material? I mean, that's short of the president. That is the highest elected office in the country. Do we put a brand new novice in there who's never held government office before? I say no. Director Templeton. The Senate is a legislative body, not an executive body, and Catherine Templeton has worked apparently most of her political career or governmental career in the executive branch. I'm not sure how that translates. Henry McMaster's, I'm not a fan of his. It could be a loyalty thing. Tim Scott, Trey Gowdy. My opinion, Trey Gowdy, I'm not a huge fan, but I think he's got passion. He's got expertise, maybe. But that's the short list. David Wilkins was considered at one point. He apparently has said, I don't want it because I don't want to run in 2014. Folks, this short list confirms something that I have been concerned about, and I have a problem with one person deciding who's going to represent us in the U.S. Senate for 2 years. Apparently, I'm not alone. Representative Rick Quinn from the middle of the country, Lexington area, has pre-filed legislation that would require a special election to fill any vacancies in the Senate. Law right now lets the governor pick it, and I support Representative Quinn's pre-filed legislation. And I would encourage all of you to write your senators and representatives and say, look, we need to get that legislation, because it shouldn't be one person making the decision for all of us. But I wanted to say one more thing. I know that the Senator DeMint was looking to move to the Heritage Foundation. I question whether he had to wait until an election that we were having already scheduled, and we could have tacked on a special election. I had to wait till that was done in order to make his decision to resign. Maybe he didn't know that the position was open. Maybe they hadn't had conversations about it, but I seriously doubt that that's the case. As a matter of fact, in his resignation speech, he made a point about if Romney had won and if the Senate had been more Republican, he would have been able to push his agenda in Washington. And I have a feeling he got frustrated because the American people didn't open up the pathway to push conservatism in the past. And he was frustrated with butting his head against not only the Democrats, but some in his own party who didn't want to go as far to the right as he did. I don't know. But I sure would have appreciated if the senator had decided last year that he was going to resign and given us an opportunity to tack on a special election to this one, so we, the people of South Carolina, would be able to vote on who's going to replace him. I urge you to talk to your senators and representatives. The bill's not in process yet, but you can talk about it. And I would urge you to tell the governor, look, put a placeholder in there, put someone in there who will represent us, who won't have to spend half of the time that they're in office running for re-election in 2014. Because that's what's going to happen. If you put someone in there that's going to run for the office in 2014, most, if not all, of next year, of 2014, is going to be spent focused on getting reelected. It's more so because they haven't had the experience of being in office, unless they put someone like Tim Scott or Trey Gowdy, who both have been House of Representatives. So I urge you to talk to the governor and tell her, put a placeholder in there. We want someone to represent us and to focus their attention the next 2 years on representing us. Well, you've been listening to Another Voice with Jason and Eric, sponsored by Fowler's Pharmacy, Greenville's neighborhood pharmacy, 1908 Lawrence Road. You can listen to us on Mondays, 1 to 2 p.m. on Spin FM 103.3 in Greenville, Greer, and Spartanburg, or you can go to canIGetAWordIn.com. Find us there, our podcast is there, or go on iTunes and our iTunes channel, Another Voice with Jason and Eric, to follow us there. Until next time, have a great evening.